Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that was forwarded to me. The message reads like this: Dear African Confessions, please read this. I can't continue carrying this heavy load. I confess that I have lived a life that wasn't mine to live. My mother, a respected traditional healer, wanted the best for me, but her idea of best was rooted in tradition and social expectations. When I got pregnant young, she urged me to marry the father, regardless of our compatibility. I obeyed, but our union was loveless and suffocating. I felt like I was a bird that was trapped inside a cage. My mother's influence brought me back home, but my father's scorn and disapproval awaited me. The weight of the disappointment kept on crushing on me. I have been living in the shadows of what I could have been, what I should have been. I am finally finding the courage to confront my past, to forgive myself and my family, and to claim back my life. I remember the day that I came back home. And when I came back home, the community that once knew me as a bright and a promising young girl now saw me as a failure, a disappointment. They whispered names like, "You are a failed wife, a single mother," behind my back, and sometimes even to my face. The shame and the humiliation were too suffocating. My own father, who once held me with pride, now looked at me with disgust, his words piercing my soul like a sharp knife. He once said to me that I was a disgrace and I had brought shame upon the family. The weight of his word crushed me, making me to question if I was even worth anything. I felt like I was living in a constant shadow of judgment from everyone. I was never good enough, never worthy of love and acceptance. The community's judgment was not enough. The women around me took it upon themselves to police my every move. They would glare at me with suspicion. Like when you have returned back from your husband, most of the women around you, they'll be scared to be friends with you because they'll think that you be hunting after their husbands. They would even say, "Do not even think about it. You have already ruined your marriage. Do not ruin ours." It was as if they thought that all that I was thinking about was sleeping with their men, and it was really painful. I was the one who had been trapped in a marriage that was loveless, that had no love at all, but they saw me as if I was the one that was wrong, and I kept on feeling like I was walking on eggshells, constantly looking over my shoulder, afraid to even breathe in the direction of their husbands. The shame and the humiliation were too much suffocating. I felt like I was living inside a prison of their making. One day, my mother, the traditional healer, came to me with a solution. She told me to start attending this other church, which was very close to our house. She said maybe the Christian God can fix what is broken in you. I did not want to go there at first, but the constant judgment and rejection from the community, it seemed as if it had taken its toll. I needed a refuge, a place to hide from the shame, so I started attending the church, hoping to find solace. The congregation there was really warm and it was welcoming, but I could sense like people, they kept on thinking that I was nothing but a failed wife who had came home with a child. Even though they did not shun me, they embraced me, or so it seemed. My mother was pleased. She thought the church would straighten me out, making me to be more like a respectable woman, that I was going through a lot, trying to please everyone else whilst I was in pain. So the pastor of that church was a kind and a compassionate man with a beautiful family that seemed to embody the perfect Christian household. His wife was graceful and she was someone that was really great, that made me to feel as if I was at ease at all the times whenever I was around here. They were the picture of a loving couple, a perfect picture, always holding hands and exchanging tender glances. The pastor would often speak of his wife, and you would say, "My wife is my partner, my best friend, my everything." I could not help but feel a pang of jealousy wondering why I'd never experienced that kind of love before. This pastor, Brother Nashi, when I kept on looking at him, I found myself being drawn to him. Little did I know that this was going to lead me down a very dangerous path, one that would test my faith, my own very faith. I could not resist the pull of the pastor's love and acceptance any longer. One night, after a particularly emotional service, I found myself alone with him in the church office. He was comforting me, offering words that were of solace when suddenly our eyes locked in a way that went beyond mere friendship. I knew it was wrong, but I could not help myself. I leaned in and he met me halfway. The kiss was like a spark that set off a firestorm of emotions. I knew that I had crossed a line, but I could not turn back now. The pastor too seemed consumed by his own desire, so that is how we began our secret affair, sneaking around, hiding from the world, but the guilt and the shame was just suffocating me. I knew that I had betrayed everyone, my mother, the church, even myself, and yet I could not stop. I was addicted to the love and the attention, even if it was built on lies, but the truth as a way of coming to light. And soon our secret will be exposed, and with devastating consequences. As I continued to attend the church, I found myself growing closer and closer to the pastor and his family. They took me under their wing, offering me guidance and support, but I could not help feeling a deep longing for the kind of love and connection that they shared. I began to fantasize about what it would be like to be loved like that, to be cherished and to be adored by him. And then one day, the pastor's wife took me aside and shared her own story. She spoke of her own doubts and fears and how her husband's love had saved her. I felt a deep connection to her, and soon I found myself also confiding in her, sharing my own secrets and desires. But as our bond grew stronger, I could not shake the feeling that I was crossing the line, that my admiration for their love was turning into something that was more like an uncontrollable monster, something that was more sinister. And then one fateful night, I made a choice that will change everything forever. My mother, the traditional healer, saw the chaos that I had unleashed and decided to take matters into her own hands. She called me to her consultation room one day and handed me a small pouch containing a charm, and she whispered and she said, "This will make the pastor forget his wife and children." She said, her eyes glimmering with a knowing light, "He will fall deeper and deeper in love with you, and you will finally have the love and acceptance that you have always wanted. Do you hear, my daughter?" I was scared at first, but my mother's words, they comforted me. I wanted to believe that I could have it all. I could have the pastor's love. And at that time, that was when I took the charm and used it, whispering the words that my mother had taught me, feeling the strange power as it was going through my blood. And indeed, it worked. The pastor's behavior changed. He became more addicted to me, and he was even forgetting his wife and children in the process. But as I looked into his eyes, I could see that there was something that was wrong, obsession, madness, and I knew that I had made a terrible mistake. The church, it was as if it was thrown into a chaos as the pastor's behavior became more and more erratic. Some members, blind to the truth, supported him, believing that he was simply following his heart. They saw me as a victim, a poor single mother who had captured the pastor's heart, but others who knew the pastor's wife and children saw the truth that he had abandoned his family for a selfish desire. They rallied around his wife, supporting the children, condemning me as Jezebel, who had destroyed a happy home. The church, indeed, it was divided, and with some calling for the pastor's resignation, whilst others defended him, saying that God is love, and thou shalt not judge. The tension was just too much. The pastor, still under the influence of the charm, planned a honeymoon for me and him in Ireland, using church funds to pay for the trip. We stayed in a luxurious resort surrounded by crystal clear waters and powdery white sand. It was really nice, far removed from the chaos that we had left behind. Even though we were enjoying ourselves and we were using the church funds to finance everything, I felt like I was living a dream a dream that was about to become a nightmare. The pastor, however, he did not even care at all with the way that he was giving me a lot of money. He did not even care. He would take me on shopping sprees in the heart of Santon Mall. I would walk through the crowded corridors, my head held high, my designer handbag swinging from my arm, feeling like a queen. We would drive through the streets in his sleek Porsche, the envy of all who saw us. I would attend church services dressed like I was a beauty queen. My makeup, I was seen as the pastor's trophy, his symbol of success. Each and every time we were always on the plane, flying in and out of the country. And as for the pastor's wife, on the other hand, she was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. She packed her bags and returned to her family home in Soweto. Her children in tow, the once devoted wife and mother was now a single parent, struggling to make ends meet, but she was not alone. Some members of the church who had stood by her during the scandal would visit her, bringing her food. They would offer words of encouragement, reminding her that she was not to blame for her husband's infidelity. They would help with the upkeep. But as time went on, I started to notice a change in the pastor. The charm that had once held him so tightly, and this charm, it started to wear off, and he would reach for his phone, his hands shaking as he scrolled through the old messages, the old photos. He would whisper her name, my love, and I would pretend to be fast asleep, not knowing what I was supposed to do. And each and every time when I would come across his pictures in his phone, all that I would do was I would just delete the pictures. I deleted everything. I did not want like him to remember his ex-wife again. Dear listeners, right there was the first part of the message that was forwarded to me by one of our admin. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. I'll be back with another episode.